What a privilege, what an honor to have you on Richard Mwenja Exclusive, your go-to point on matters, politics and governance analysis here in Kenya and across the region. I'm yours truly, son of the soil, Richard Mwenja. Today, discussing, or rather dissecting, on a cocktail of issues in the world of politics and governance, and who better to help me bring the conversation home other than the firebrand, the think tank himself, former cabinet minister, Ruto, Arab Kiro. Laid back, cool and gentle.
Well, I try, because at times you are provoked beyond retention. But then we have to realize this space is owned by many people. Those you like, those you don't like, all of them occupy this space. And the most important thing is how to manage diversity. Yeah.
A section of the political class believe that nowadays Crypto Arab Kiro is very combative, especially on issues that are of national interest, that you need to tone down your energy and all that when you're addressing the president. What do you make of those concerns?
Well, it is the love for my country and the respect I have for the president that I have to tell him as is. Because anything else that you sugarcoat and you make him appear good when it is not, it's a mistake. I don't do it because of a measure of hate, measure of frustration, or measure of bitterness. I cannot be bitter with the team that I was not part of, because you remember the tail end, I had worked with him for 2 years. At the tail end, I prefer the other team. So how can I be bitter when I had chosen not to be with them? Because they had equal chances of either winning or losing. And I feel where I am, I'm happy, but I also wish them well, because it's important that they do well, because the country will move forward, because they are the administration of the day, and every penny that we give in terms of taxes, it is they who handle it. And if they handle it well, Kenya will be better.
On a more personal level, and likely so, do you think he would pick up your call today, the president?
Well, I don't know, because it depends on his disposition. We've communicated. I think there is some communication I did in April.
Oh,
and he replied.
This year?
Yeah, this year, April, this year. And it was not about me. I was not looking for a job.
Or a brown envelope?
No. I don't have it, but I'm okay.
So those who say they had laid traps for anyone like you is on the other side to get the president, it never worked for your case in April?
It never works, because you see, the president is independent. And is slightly above most of these guys who think that by winning on this side is the end of politics. They need to look for votes in the next 2 years or so. So in politics, you can never have permanent enemies or permanent friends. Things shift. Remember, if you are to cast your eye 25 years ago, there is no party that has formed the government twice. Remember, we formed as NAC in 2002, 2007 it was PNU, in 2013 it was Jubilee, TNA and URP. In 2017 it was Jubilee, and in 2022 it is Kenya Kwanza. 5 consecutive elections without a single one being formed by the same political outfit twice. This therefore means there are people in Azimio today who may be with Kenya Kwanza tomorrow, and vice versa. You never know. The formation from that kind of prediction may not be the same. The last time a party formed the government twice is KANU, which was the only party initially. Later on it caused some challenge from other political entities. And when they last formed the government in 1997. But from that time, it has been different formation. So who knows? Even the president himself may decide to start another outfit and either win or lose. And even the Azimio may be another outfit. You remember they were called, then NASA, then Azimio. So you don't know the next one, what it will be.
Well articulated there. And now to the conversation of the day, and how about we begin from the recent proposal by Nandi Senator Honorable Samson Cherargei, that which has to do with the proposal to increase the term limit for the president, governors and members of parliament from 5 years to 7 years, in what he argues as the need for better service delivery and development. What do you make of the proposal by Nandi Senator Cherargei?
Well, the late Kwet Masire used to say, when you reach your internal limit, you quit. I think Cherargei has reached his internal limit because in some other jurisdictions like that of the United States, you do 4 years. And practically every 2 years there is an election to bring in new blood and remove some of the existing positions. Because the elections are staggered in a way that when you are elected, let's say in 2022, you will be re-elected in 2026. But there is somebody who was elected in 2020 who will be re-elected in 2024. That's how their system is staggered. That's why at times when they are doing presidential election, which is about 4 years, there are half of the seats are up for grabs, either by the ruling coalition or the ruling party or the opposition, either Republicans or Democrats. So they deal with 4 years, and effectively every 2 years they have an election. And every 4 years they have a presidential election, which is national. Now, for us to lower by 1 year, to increase by 1 year, by 2 years, I do not know, I have not seen the wisdom in that, because the danger, and many Kenyans may fall for it, but I just want to warn them in good time. You may think it is Cherargei, and if it is he, then I will go by what I said. He has reached his internal limit, and the best thing is to quit and deal with other issues that he's capable of doing. If somebody is using him as a straw in the air, it may be something that eventually they would want to popularize, so that if we have the next constitutional arrangement, we allow that to say you go for 1 term of 7 years and you don't repeat, so that the president is elected, he stays for 7 years and he goes. And remember, the occupant, should William Ruto win the next election, he will have served for 10 years. But he will tell you, there is a precedent that was set by President Moi. We amended the constitution in 1991 to provide for a term limit. And when he ran in 1992, he said, this is a fresh piece of law that now I'm starting. I will do my 10 years. So he did 92, 97, then 97, 2002. Forgetting the fact that he had done more than 14 years prior to the constitutional amendment. So we may be falling for the same trick, that Cherargei and the group may tell us, okay, it's okay, I will do 1 term. But 1 term on the understanding that whatever I've done before is not counted as part of this, because this is new constitutional dispensation. That's the danger. So Ruto will have invited himself for 17 years instead of 10 years. So it's a dangerous game. It is something that we should rebuke and realize that there are many Kenyans who can occupy that coveted position of the president.
And should there be an underhand in Cherargei's proposal, it then begs the question of all parliamentarians, of all elected leaders, why would they narrow down to Cherargei to be the mouthpiece of such a debate? Why him?
Well, there are many people. You know, during the days of President Moi, he had the Mulu Mutishas of this world, Sharif Nasir, Kariuki Chotara, Ezekiel Barngetuny. Cherargei could be in that category of Mulu Mutisha, Ezekiel Barngetuny, and so forth. Of course, may God rest their souls, because they have all moved on to the next phase of justice before the Lord.
Do you think you are fair when you somewhat are narrowing down Cherargei to someone who sycophancy and him go in the same line? Because those you've mentioned were big on sort of sycophancy.
But there was straws in the air, because President Moi could use them to see what is the public thinking. And when he realizes it's going the wrong way, he will come in and tell them, no, wachana na hii maneno. This is the way the country is moving. So it could be he's playing that role. And if you play the role of a psychophant or a clown, people will call you a clown. You could be a professor of a university. But if you are clownish in the way you deal with things, you qualify to be a clown. And I think Gerard Gay has more than often demonstrated that he's a clown in another form. Yeah.
But next time try to use polite language. Maybe say you don't credit him with deeper thinking. Maybe that could be more polite.
I've said that before, and I don't like repeating myself. I've said he has reached his internal limit. Because
okay, advancing that conversation, and now how about we look at what many are taking concern with, which is they believe President Ruto's cabinet is a cabinet of blunders, all thanks to the many gaffes we are seeing around, excuses, and also last-minute sort of knee-jerk reactions when it comes to mitigating the crisis we are facing as a nation. Talk of doctor strike, the ravaging floods, and other issues, corruption, edible oil scandal, government-to-government oil deal, and all those issues. And it begs the question, you are part of Kibaki One government, and a few, or rather a section of the political class and also citizens have made a comparison within the same review period of Kibaki One cabinet and Uhuru One cabinet, and they feel this Ruto One cabinet has performed below expectations. What do you think has made Ruto's economic transformation plan not take off full throttle, unlike what was profiled earlier when they came into office?
usually cabinet meeting is supposed to be a clearinghouse of ideas that are presented through prosecution of papers that we call memos. And those memos are supposed to assist whoever is presenting the memo or prosecuting his paper to benefit from the wisdom around the house. Because in any cabinet meeting, there are more than 20, about 25 Kenyans for the time being, including the president, his deputy, and 21 cabinet ministers, and the attorney general, and now there is a secretary to the cabinet, and so forth. So when you have that collective wisdom of about 25 Kenyans, and you bring an idea that is useful to the country, everybody will have an input and come out with a bit of amendments or come out with variation of the original motion or come out with affirming the position that the originator of the motion had presented the paper. I have three fears. One of the fears is that the president himself often undertakes to pray whenever a cabinet meeting is held. And he spends more time talking than listening across the floor. And people who have certain ideas which may be latent and full of wisdom may not be able to take a position against what the president has already spoken about. In management, we were taught that when you go for a meeting, you do not present an agenda, and after presenting the agenda, you give your opinion. You will be gagging the rest of the members of that committee from presenting genuine ideas and with genuine frustrations. But once you take a position as the chair or as the boss of that particular organization, you make people shy away from presenting their views as they should. So that's my first fear. And therefore the president will talk, agree with certain position without proper prosecution of the paper. Then at the end he prays and they go away. So the collective wisdom of the cabinet is never used.
Tapped into.
And that he runs the risk of being a micromanager. A micromanager, in the definition of the term, is somebody who will get into details of every issue without allowing the department head of that particular section or the section head of that particular section to make decisions with the technical team around him. Because whatever is happening at that corner if it is a section head or a department head, there is some information that they have that I may not have as the overall boss. And that wisdom at that particular corner will assist them to make more informed decisions with the benefit of the professions they share among themselves. So at times when we blame this cabinet, I leave it squarely at the desk of the president. The second issue is there is lack of effective communication, what I call internal communication. Because take, for example, the case of CS Majogu.
Education CS.
Education CS. I'm made to understand that he had made that request and proposal that let's postpone schools because these floods have destroyed a number of them and they may not be ready for effective work. And he never got the answer until midnight of the eve of school opening. So what was happening? Either nobody was willing to listen to him, or nobody considered that issue as serious or important, and therefore they might have been waiting for the president to give the go-ahead. Remember, the actual postponement now was done by him. If I were him, I would have said all the things, but I would have allowed CS Majogu now to postpone indefinitely so that you give him a chance to save his face. He had been condemned, and even some people now, they are listing him among those ministers to be condemned. But you realize who was postponing is the president. And the president had not given him the go-ahead until midnight, the eve of the opening of the schools. So when you look at it properly, it is what I've always repeated, that when Kibaki gave you a chance to lead a certain ministry, he allowed you to make your mistakes and to correct the mistakes you had made so that you save face. You know, even to say, I'm sorry, and it's not the president reprimanding you that why don't you say you are sorry, is good enough because you will have allowed the minister to correct the position he had taken. And saying I'm sorry is not a crime. So that's something, those are the two issues that I look at. Lack of effective communication and micromanagement.
So giving your cabinet ministers a free hand to apply themselves somewhat goes a long way in building up efficiency in public service.
It goes a long way, and because I've always told people there is no minister who knows more about the ministry than the officers in that ministry. The role of a minister is to provide leadership. And providing leadership is trying to harness the capacity of each and every officer in that particular ministry. It is up to you to know how to harness the potential of each officer. The late President of America, Ronald Reagan, said throughout his life he has made enough mistakes, but he has come to the conclusion that if you assign well-trained people with requisite experience duties and you allow them to ventilate and use their capacity, they present to you better results than if you are to micromanage them. So that is the position I see, and the president should not be blaming ministers, telling them that they are clueless. You know, as a president, you cannot know 22 ministries. You will go mad.
You cannot be a jack of all trades
and
a master of them all.
You can't. Your capacity is limited. Even today, if I was to go back to my former Minister of Agriculture, it will take 6 months for me to adjust and realize the corners. Mahali wakora wako wa fertilizer, wale wa sukari, wale wa mambo ingine, mbegu. You know, it will take you 6 months. And that is with deliberate effort to understand your ministry again. Otherwise, the officers I had about 20 years ago, they have either retired or they have resigned. And therefore, I'll be dealing with new crop of leaders running the ministry with the requisite knowledge and capacity that I don't have. So I have to go back without reminding them that I was here 20 years ago. I will ask them, what are the issues now? Then I start from what they know, and we build on the resources we have.
Very well. And now that we are seeing the parliament of the day, a section of the opposition, and also citizens calling out President Ruto's cabinet and bringing it under fire, what do you think is making the president shy from admitting failure of its cabinet and probably asking for assistance to navigate the ship from these deadly waters?
He knows better than all of us that the mistake is not the Nturis. The mistake is not Chirchirs. The mistake is not Majogus. Because he knows he never gave Majogu a chance to decide earlier. He knows the mistake is not, who was the other one? Nahumicha.
For health.
Nahumicha, from the beginning of time, he should have realized that she could have done something else. So we cannot blame her. Who else?
Murkomen, Murkomen
is just exaggerated arrogance.
Really?
Yeah, he's just exaggerated. You know, Murkomen does not listen. You don't know that. Murkomen does not listen. We were part of political bureau when we were fighting for the deputy president at that time to be the president. He could come to the meeting. Mudama was the chair. I was a member. And he was a member. Rigathi was a member. Chirchir was a member. And Bone Halwale was a member. Because now it is water under the bridge. Omar Hassan was a member.
Think tanks, those ones.
Yes, and Governor Nanok was a member. Who else? So that I don't forget somebody. PS, Foreign Affairs, was a secretary. Was like a secretary and a technical expert to inform us on BBI 1, now BBI 2.
A robust team.
That was the team. But Murkomen would come, oh, Mr. Chairman, I have another meeting. Then he leaves. He does not benefit from the wisdom of those who have come in. That's why he was sucking the other. He was telling the boy, there was a young man, he wanted a job. Then he said, Atupeane kazi. Then some hilarious Kenyans had a picture of his on a t-shirt. That atupeane kazi, tunapeana mawe na kinyesi ya punda. You know, it was a very hilarious thing. And of course, I'm told later on he apologized and employed him.
Yeah, sure.
That is actually, he shoots from the hip. He does not consider, he doesn't realize he's a leader. And when you are a leader, whether you are 30 years or 20 years, you have been given, you have been bestowed with heavy responsibility. It is not about you anymore. Now I can say anything because I'm not in any position of leadership. But should I get a position of leadership, I have to weigh. What am I saying? How is it going to affect supporters of the government and those who are not in government? Yeah. So you should realize that the power he has been donated by the president on behalf of the people of Kenya. If President Ruto was not the president today, Murkomen would not be a minister. So Murkomen was not elected a minister. That's what he should realize. He was elected senator, then he was appointed minister, he resigned as senator, because the power that was given to the president by the people of Kenya, he donated a bit of that to him. Then the little he was given got into his head.
So from your optic, it will be right to say, and it will be a statement of fact to say President Ruto is aware of the author of the problems we are facing as a country.
He's the author. Yeah.
Not even someone who is aware of the author, he is the author himself.
He is the author himself, because you see, how can you allow excesses of bad manners to pervade the atmosphere of your office and you do nothing? Either he knows the culprits and he knows why they are doing that. He knows who brought in oil that was said not to be fit for human consumption. He knows who brought sugar laced with poison. He knows who brought this fertilizer with what they are calling soil conditioner, and they were calling it, some of it,
soil stabilizer.
Soil stabilizer, and some were saying it is not fake, it is substandard. You know, that's the only crime this guy Mithika committed by lying to us. So possibly knew the truth and he didn't tell us the truth. So if he was to be impeached, it is on the lie. But he may not be involved in the fertilizer. There could be some barons who are part of the cabal of opportunists that are dealing with this regime and telling the president, remember our billions that we spend on your campaign. We need back that to have that money back. And in the process, they make more money.
Very well.
So I think at the end of the day, the president should not blame other people's children. It is either him, and if it's not him, he knows who. Yeah.
Or he
And you know, ministers, you know, the problem, even with the new constitution, where they are saying ministers or CSS, they are not strictly accounting officers. They are accountable to the president and by extension to the public through parliament. Some people have mistaken notion. Ministers are not accounting officers. Accounting officers are the PSS because they are involved in day-to-day running of the ministry, and administration. And if you are to look at the Board of National Cereals and Produce Board, you will realize PS Agriculture is there or he sends his representative, not minister. You realize PS Treasury is there in person or his representative. PS Office of the President is there in person or his representative. The chairman, who is appointed by the president, is in the
also
board.
Part of the board.
The MD, who is appointed by the minister, but with tacit approval of the president, knowing this regime, is in that board. Now you've arrested the appointee of the president, or somebody who got tacit approval to be appointed. Do you think you can arrest without the president knowing? How come the 17 cases that fleeced billions of shillings to this country, they have all been withdrawn? And the former DPP says he was politically pushed, pressured to prosecute those people. Was he again politically pressured to release them? Are the accusations and arrests of today going to be said it was under political pressure? These are some of the fundamental questions that as Kenyans we should ask ourselves. So when I was saying Mithika should not resign, Mithika should not be sacked by the president, it is because I want the truth to be unearthed. It's not about Mithika, it's a bigger scheme.
It's the bigger picture and the bigger scheme.
Yeah.
Very lastly, in the interest of time, there are quarters who believe and are quick to opine even publicly that President Ruto is a good person, he's a good leader, but that those around him are now the flock that is leading him astray. Do you consider that to be an argument that has an ounce of wisdom therein?
You are as good as the company you keep. If you are in the middle of thugs and you say you are not a thug, then you are either a policeman, you want to arrest them, or you are a lawyer, you want to represent them in court. Otherwise, you are one of them. Yeah.
So this idea of Ruto is a good man, but those around him in State House and other quarters are the bad people advising him.
How do you surround yourself with bad people? And there are so many good Kenyans, young and old.
It means you're a bad person yourself.
You are you attract the company. The company that you attract is they say birds of the same feather flock together. So I didn't write that. Somebody wrote it so many years before I was born. So
I know some are curious and are really waiting for that example you like using of a thief who passes by a couple of miles and something gets stolen.
Yeah. Now we are going to use another one. There is what we call a skunk. A skunk is as pungent smell. And the pungent smell, when it is running around and even it hits you with the tail, and you go even to the river, you take a shower, there will still be that pungent smell. And therefore, if the president is among skunks, then he's likely to have the same smell as the skunks. That's my worry. Yeah.
This man, Kipruto Arap Kirwa, he says it as it is, takes 0 prisoners, and you definitely have to love him for that. He definitely writes the truth and prints it out there, and boldly so. He speaks truth to power. We hope that you'll tap and you'll keep tapping to his nuggets of wisdom. We've been talking matters to do with efficiency in public service as a country and what areas we need to address. And we've also discussed on the cabinet of blunders, which many of you believe it is, and how better it can navigate around, get its Damascus moment, and forge higher in a better way. That has been the conversation. Until we meet next time on Richard Mwenja Exclusive, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Kipruto Arap Kirwa, always a pleasure to have you on board, and thank you for always gracing this edition.
Well, it's my pleasure too. But just remember what the emperor was told.
Which is?
By the junta of three. Mengistu Haile Mariam, Tafari Banti, and Anon. They used to tell him, give us this minister. He gave them. By the time they reached the sixth minister, they came back and he said, which one do you want me to give you today? They said, we have come for you. That is how the emperor was overthrown on 12th of September 1974 in Ethiopia.
He was taken to the guillotine finally.
He was taken himself and put under a lot of disrepute and made to suffer. So the president should be careful.
That scenario could play out in Kenya.
It can play out. Today it's Mithika. Tomorrow could be Machogu. The other day could be Chichir. Next time they will say it is you who was the problem.
The house on the hill.
The house on the hill. Because you are the one who starts with prayer, you close with prayer, and in between, you are the person who proposes and recommends.
Well, there you have it from Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Until next time, God bless.